Did you get your prize? Okay, so,
Oh, she got a prize.
we'll have to wait for it. We're set? Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our June Village Board meeting. If you could please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to look at the top at our staff reports. We received an Altamont Fire Department report. Chief, are you back here? Somebody, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Nothing else? Does anybody have any questions for Chief? No. No? Okay, thank
good.
you. Police Department, anything tonight? All right, guys. Let's see. Public Works, not here this evening, couldn't be here this evening. I will say you've obviously noticed we're doing brush and bag pickups, have continued since the spring. They're moving on that. We are going to be starting to work on as a water project, some of our old turn-off valves. So you'll notice when there's like a water main break, sometimes one whole section of the village gets turned off while we try to fix it, and your water pressure either goes down or is gone. So as one of our water projects, we've been planning out trying to put in new turn-offs, fix the old ones, and then put in some additional ones. So say, I know they're working on one maybe for the Gregg Road area coming up this week. So we'd only have to turn the road off, not the whole end of town. So this is something they're going to be working on. They delivered notices today to many areas that will be affected by tomorrow's work. I know Sunset Drive was one of them because I was there when they were handing those notices out. Basically low pressure, not that you're going to lose water, but it will be low for a day. And they'll keep doing this as they make their way around the plan, around the village. So that's something to take note of. I'm trying to think if there was something else. Nothing else with them, I think, right now. I think that's probably the most important project we're working on at the moment. That, and they've been getting the camp ready, or the camp, Bozeman Hill Park ready for camp season. Will be approaching faster than we know it's coming. And everything was looking really great down there. They finished new playground equipment installation at both Schilling and Bozeman Hill Park. It has been kid tested by the nursery school, and we got the thumbs up by them because they thought it was great. So there's a lot of new equipment down at Bozeman Hill as well that we put in last year and this year. So check that out if you get a chance. Okay, that's all I have for Public Works. Okay. Right now I'm going to move to public comment. If you have something you'd like to share with the board. If you have a comment about the public hearing that is like item number 2, I'd ask you to hold off and wait till then so we enter that as part of the record of that public hearing. But if you have anything else you'd like to talk about, feel free to come right up to the microphone and let us know. And I'm not seeing any movement. I'm going to do a shout out for ACT just because she's not here and I saw an email. And maybe Mrs. Provencher will correct me if I have this wrong. The date is June, can you remember?
18th?
18th, thank you, because I didn't really know the day. They're doing their Strawberry Social, their annual Strawberry Social. ACT will be in Orsini Park. I believe it was 6 to 8, I think, right? Okay, good. So please come out. It's always been great. They have music in the gazebo that night and lots of strawberry shortcake. That's always awesome.
It's a great event for the whole family.
It is it's a great time for everybody. So that was my public service now. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so now I don't see anything for item number 1. I'm going to move to item number 2, and I'm going to ask our counsel, Ms. Pratt, to.
Carried it.
I
Did you skip
apologize. I skipped number 1. Sorry, I have written down a note to ask you to read something, and I didn't.
Oh, there you go.
I know, we'll get to you in a second then, I guess. I apologize. Consider approval of treasurer's abstracts, number 23, 24, and 1, and transfer of funds as submitted. I think we've all reviewed the vouchers and
did.
signed them. Okay, can I have a motion?
So moved.
John is first.
I'll second.
Michelle is second. And roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Scally?
In favor?
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Sorry about that, Heather. That's your abstract. Didn't mean to skip over it. Okay, now entering number 2. So I will let you read open the hearing with the notice.
Sure. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village Board for the Village of Altamont at the Village Community Room on the 4th day of June, 2024 at 7 p.m. regarding adopting a proposed local law amending Chapter 124 of the Village Code, regulating the control of dogs to require that dogs that are not on private property be kept on a leash and under the control of their owner or person accompanying the dog. The law provides that the village board may also adopt rules and regulations to prohibit or restrict the days or times when dogs may be permitted on village property, including specified village parks to ensure the presence of dogs does not conflict or interfere with scheduled or planned programming or permitted activities taking place on the premises. The proposed local law would also prohibit habitual loud howling, barking, crying, or whining that lasts continually for a period of 10 minutes or intermittently for a period of 30 minutes. Interested persons are encouraged to attend the public hearing and submit comments for the village board's consideration. Copies of the proposed local law are available at the village clerk's office during normal business hours for the purpose of inspection or procurement by interested persons.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Sure.
And that opens the public hearing, but before I ask people to come up and share their thoughts with the board tonight, I just want to give you a little background on this, because from the screenshots and information I have received from friends and neighbors, I think almost 100% of what's been going on and around online has been false. So I just want to give you where this came from and what we are proposing possibly to talk about. So any kind of change, if there's an incident, it could be about anything. In this case, there was someone who ran into some dogs that approached their dog who was on a leash, and they indicated to those folks, your dog's on a public street are supposed to be on a leash. The herd dog reacted kind of scared or things like that. And so it came to us and said, is there something you can look at, the board, where you look at this type of thing? And I said, well, here's what you need to do. The same advice we gave for chickens, the same advice we give for anything like this. No one just changes it because a neighbor asks us to. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't. If you've attended these meetings, you know that. So we said, talk to your neighbors, talk to some people in town, get some support for this, and bring it to us, and show us that this is something that you feel strongly about, or other people also feel strongly about. And so we, I guess it was put out there someplace, and we got letters supporting and not supporting any kind of change, enough that we said, let's open it up as a public hearing and let's just ask people. I mean, that's kind of how it works. That's how it worked with chickens. One person didn't change a chicken law. It took us asking them to come as a group and either write us, or they came to a meeting and asked the board at that meeting. So there is a process. There's always been a process. That's number one. What the proposal does, it does not, nowhere in the proposal, add fines to any behavior for dogs. Nothing has been added to this local law for that, none. It has not added any registration fees. That was one I heard today, that now we have registration fees. We don't have any registration fees. You register your dog with the town of Guilderland. It's always been that way. They have fees. I couldn't even tell you what they are off the top of my head, but there's a fee structure. We didn't add anything about dogs barking. In the original law, yes, 1972, it was last amended about dogs barking. We didn't add it. It's been there the whole time. There's no change. All right, just want you to know that. So we're not sending out our police chief looking for barking dogs. That is not what we do here. And we didn't actually change the rules. We're not trying to change rules for dogs in Bosanquille Park. Bosanquille Park has always been, for the last about 20 years, dogs need to be on a leash. There was signage, one disappeared, one was ignored. We added signs a couple of years ago. We have had 2 park managers with issues in the past, dogs that are loose approaching our campers. That's not safe. And in the spring, it's not the best park to walk through. I'll just tell you that right now. If you've been there, you know that. Because as much as 1 or 2 people say they pick up after the dog, there's 3 or 4 others that do not. And it's a problem. But that's why it's always been dogs on a leash there. Now, that park, just historically, about 20 years ago, dogs were not allowed in that park. just so you know that. This is a change. Dogs were not allowed. We had two people, Chris Marshall and Deborah Hex, approached the board way back when, because they wanted to walk their dogs there, and they asked the village to change the rules so dogs could be on leashes. And I wasn't, involved in that process, but it happened, and that's great. But nothing has changed as far as that part goes. So what we are proposing was 3 very small changes. And one of them isn't a change, it's just to let you know what we've been doing all this time. The first part of our, what seems to be the issue was the leash. I always thought we had a leash law. I thought your dogs had to be on a leash. I never knew it said leash or under control. And as good as our dogs are, including the one I'm babysitting right now, best dog in the world, but if she sees a squirrel or bunny, she's gone. It's just the way it is. And she's a very under control dog. And it's not, for her safety, I would want her to be on a leash, for everybody else's safety too. But we propose to address this issue. It changes from instead of leash or control of your dog to leash and control your dog. One word is and. Most municipalities, not all, but the majority in this whole capital region require a leash. Some of them even say how long that leash should be. That's what we were proposing. The other thing that we added was only to tell you what's been going on. So under the dogs barking, howling, which had always been there, was the change, we added the minutes, 10 minutes and 30. That is the procedure, has always been the procedure. Guilderland, that is their law. They are our animal control officers. When there is a complaint about excessive barking, like really excessive, and if you live next to a dog like that, you might, I hope no one does. It's only happened once in my whole tenure here. Our police might get a report. They will go and just have a nice conversation with the person saying, we've heard from your neighbors. And if it's not corrected, unfortunately, we refer it to the Guilderland Animal Control. These are the standards they use, 10 minutes and 30 minutes. You can look at their code. It is their same minutes. That's what we've always done it on. So this was just, since we were amending this one part about the leash, I said, why don't we just put that right out in front so people know what we do? This has always been the way, but that's what we've been doing. And lastly, I asked our council just to add a note that the village can determine days, times, or events. Because if there's an event, we rent out all these spaces that, especially like a kid event at the camp, that maybe we feel, it might not be great to have dogs there that day because of the families or the kid or whatever, that we have that ability. I thought we would have that ability with the signage because we do have that. It works everywhere else, but when someone said something about, it says you don't need a leash, so we're gonna, even though the sign says no, we're gonna do it anyway. I just thought it would be smart to have it right in there that, the village reserves the right to, if we need signage or whatever. So it was only those 3 changes. So I just wanted to, I've heard a lot, and I've been sent many little emails about this is what these people are saying, and I just said it's unfortunate. I don't know how some of these things started, but a lot of them were not, if not all of them, were not true. So with that, we welcome your comments. We want to hear what you feel about this. I think we've all had experiences one way or the other, but that's what we're here for tonight. So if you want to come up and tell us. What?
Sorry about it. There was just a slight expansion from the howling, barking.
Right, they copied the Guilderland, yeah.
Crying and whining. It's only just a slight expansion.
It was just I think we matched it. I think
Yeah.
that's what
It says from Guilderland.
our council did at the time.
Right.
Yeah. So, they just matched it up to the Guilderland one. Okay, thanks. So if anybody has to, knowing all that now, sorry, it's a lot, but I wanted to get it out there, so we just start with a clean slate on what is actually the facts here. Please come up and, share with us what you're thinking about those 3 changes. That would be great, right? And we're good? Okay.
Sure.
So.
Hello, Board.
Hey.
Deborah Hex, Whippleway. First, I want to thank the board and the mayor for taking this change into consideration. I think many people, as you said, thought we already had a leash law. I certainly did, and I was corrected once, and the person was right. But I think that everybody has the same right to enjoy what Altamont offers, be it a park, be it the sidewalks, be it the street. I know that the fairgrounds is a separate entity, but the same rules should exist. it's not just a safety issue, it's also a health issue. Like you said, you walk through that park at any time, and if you don't get something on your shoe, then you're in the parking lot. I've had many experiences there, and I think it's driving a wedge between friends, and it shouldn't be that. It really shouldn't. There's a dog park in Guilderland. It's 10 minutes away. I've been there. If you want to let your dogs run loose and you want to have your coffee in the morning, go to the dog park. Bozenkill Park is not a dog park. I think it's important to keep it dog-friendly, but if it's going to continue to be like this, I think at some point you're just going to have to say, all right, we'll settle this, no dogs allowed. And none of us want that. So, I just hope that Altamont can follow Guilderland's lead and put a leash law in effect, and perhaps at some point in time, think about a dog park in Altamont. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Be a dramatic approach here.
It's all right. I do like the color.
I do like the color. I was gonna say the same thing. I do like the color.
See me coming.
You like a chair, Joe?
This is fine, but thanks. Hopefully I'll be brief. My name is Joe Connors. I'm here on behalf of myself and my wife, Jaya Connors. We live on Gun Club Road across from Bozenkill Park. The Altamont Village line crosses through our backyard. We're opposed to the change because if it's not broken, why try to fix it? You mentioned, Mayor, that there wouldn't be any new fines, but when you expand the definition of who's subject to a fine by having a dog off leash, then there is the potential for new fines. It's working just the way our neighbor in Voorheesville, a village, has its current law. Your dog needs to be on a leash or under the owner's control. Not both, but one or the other. And that's been working. As far as I know, looking at everything that was submitted in the record here, there was one incident of somebody walking on a public street, dogs approached, she lifted her small dog up and was scared about that. I think there could be special rules for public sidewalks. But a park, it's working. I'm in the park 3 or 4 times a week. I've never seen any dangerous situations. In terms of excrement being left around the park, you already have a law on the books about that. That's wrong. That shouldn't happen. So that's covered. Changing this law doesn't change that law. It's already in effect. Regarding the part about adding crying and yelping or howling, I might have the language, adding some different types of dog communication. Yeah, Guilderland might do that, but that doesn't mean it's right. It just creates more rooms for disagreement. Was the dog howling? Was it yelping? Was it crying? Not necessary. If you look at the minutes from the board about 2 years ago, the police chief appeared and gave a full report about the number of noise ordinance violations under Guilderland law that Guilderland had responded to in Altamont, and there weren't any. If there were ever calls, it was because of loud house parties, but there weren't incidents about dogs being obnoxious and disturbing neighbors. That happens. Our values of our community is you work it out with your neighbor. You don't need new laws to fix that. Right now, the current law, your council can disagree, or you can disagree, is that your dog can be in the park, including Bosanquille Park, off-leash, if he's under the control of the owner. That's what I've seen when I'm there. I see dogs under the control of the responsible owners. They might be playing fetch with a ball. I saw somebody throwing a Frisbee to a very well-trained and athletic dog. And when another dog approached the area, they would give a command and the dog would come. It wasn't wild, loose Cujo dogs scaring people in the park. That's just not happening. So I guess in conclusion is, I encourage you not to over-regulate us and turn Altamont into a community that's not dog-friendly. Follow the lead of the village that has limited resources, the village of Voorheesville, and keeping the law the way it is. Our current law that provides under control or on leash is exactly what Voorheesville has. Bigger towns might have something different because they have more enforcement mechanisms. If you do change the law, you're creating an extra burden on enforcement, and if you don't follow through with that enforcement, you're creating additional risk and liability for the village, as I set forth in our letter. Thank you all for your service and your consideration of these remarks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's my first time ever doing this, and for that I apologize. I should have been coming to these meetings, which I've been going to movies instead, but coming to these meetings for the last 30 years instead of ignoring them. And I wanted to apologize because I interpreted what was posted on Facebook as the gospel, which I should not
Yeah,
have
there's
done.
a lesson for you, right?
Right? So, I made some sideways comments, and I'm sorry that I did. So I'm in favor of the law to a point. I would be more in favor of it if we could also concomitantly, is that a word? I hope I pronounced it correctly, but at the same time, consider a dog park as well. I don't think I need to read this whole letter that I sent to the board.
yeah,
I
we
didn't
got it.
know your name or anything else. I couldn't, you didn't get a copy of this, but
She has everything that's in our packets, which is your letter as well.
Oh, okay,
So
good.
we're good.
So about the fines, I would be in favor of the fines also if you would consider taking a substantial portion of those fines to set aside for dog owners to get free obedience training for their dog. Having been taking our 4 Goldens that we've had here in 30 years or more, I have been to the park a lot. Sometimes I was the only person there. Probably back when the park was first built and dogs weren't allowed, I was there. It was just me and my dog. So I think the idea of having free lessons for people might mitigate some of the other issues that we have when considering a dog park, such as people behavior and dog behavior. And God bless everybody to try and regulate dog behavior because we're not doing a good job with people behavior. So now we're going to try and do both, and I think it's going to be a problem. But I did outline some reasons why it would be good to have a dog park. One of them was I've seen a lot of increase in dog ownership. Since the pandemic, our current dog is a pandemic baby, so there's a lot more dogs, I think, in the village, and nationally the percentage has gone up 6% since the pandemic. Safety concerns, I think everybody here can agree that we want our people and our kids safe and we want our dogs safe. And I think that a well-trained dog and a dog park where they can go would be a good way of addressing those safety concerns, one of many ways to address it. Those of you who own a dog know that socialization is important for those animals, and in this letter I included some quotes from the National Recreation and Parks Association, the American Kennel Club, what they have to say about dog ownership and exercise. And then I had some things in here about improving the overall quality of life for Altamont residents. I want to echo Deb's comment. Deb and I screamed at each other a few times in the park. We had a few disagreements, but we talk now, we're friends now, because of what Joe said. When you have issues, you go work them out with your neighbor. You don't be passive-aggressive about it and stand back and hope something will happen. So we did address that. And then as far as the procedure for making this happen, I suggested maybe forming a task force. You know, you got a task, it's a force, get it done. Don't form a committee, committees last forever. Conduct a feasibility study for potential locations, costs, et cetera, funding opportunities, maybe some member item money from Senator Tonko. And engage in community outreach efforts to get everybody involved. Those who favor 1,000% having this new, only 3 changes in the dog law. I thought there was about 4,000, but get people who are in favor of different positions. We can all agree we want safety for our animals and ourselves. So starting with that, I'm hopeful that we could actually have a dog park sometime in the future. I'd be willing to serve but not lead. I'm retired, I've done my work. 50 years is enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And before I ask anybody else comes up, Michelle, because you were hands-on involved, will you just give everybody a background on the committee we had? Just, we're
We
not
did
against a
have-
dog park.
yeah.
We did move towards one a couple years ago.
We did have a committee for the dog park. We did
Search.
go as far as, I wrote up a grant. We went and had several estimates given, and the only reason that the dog park didn't materialize is because we didn't get the grant. So
We gotta
that,
just try again and.
we're just gonna keep trying again. So we already have measurements, we already have estimates, we already know where it would be.
Well,
in the-
one place, I mean,
One-
it could be other places.
it could
but
be other places,
We
but it
had
was a nice
ideas.
place.
Yeah,
And,
so,
so we already had a general idea and a
Yeah.
committee together, and so we have a good head start.
yeah,
We just have to round up funding.
so,
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
Remember I said I would serve and not lead, but I wrote grants to save my job and other people's jobs for a living from 1976 to 2010.
That is very good to know.
so we may take you right
That
up
is
on
very
that.
good to know.
Appreciate it, we really do. All
So,
right, I just wanted you, because I know you were involved in doing that, so I just wanted you to
Yes.
mention that. Hi,
Hey, guys. So I wish I had some positive things to say.
okay.
I've worked in government for 35 years. I've seen what laws do and
Can I
don't
ask you
do.
just to announce your name for the people at home?
I'm sorry, my name is Matthew Flaherty.
Thank you.
And I live on Western
I
Avenue.
appreciate it.
And I think, Mayor, you know me because you've gotten video of me.
Video of you?
From the police officer. So
No,
I'm going to give you guys
I don't know what that is, but
an
okay.
example of what has happened in this village. I have come to Bozenkill Park every day for 18 years, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. with my dog. I play fetch with my dog. I've met other dog owners who have been very friendly. I've also had police officers come to me at 8 a.m., pull up to me, pull out a phone, videotape me, and say, I have to do this for the record because my mayor doesn't understand the dog law.
Find that hard to believe, but okay.
I don't find it hard to believe. You did not know what the law was with the word "or."
Oh, I've already said that. I assume we had and, yes, I already said
Yes,
that.
so you did not know the law.
I did not know that we didn't have. a
Yet
leash
I
law.
am attacked by the police officers interviewing me, saying, why is your dog off a leash? My dog is under control, sitting right here, not moving. Excuse me?
Which police department?
Altamont, it was Jill.
Oh, okay, I'm not aware of it.
And
She
there was,
never
a-
came
and there
to
was
me?
another young man too. 8 a.m. in the morning. And I'm sorry, this is unacceptable. So I am following the law, yet I'm being harassed by police officers. So now there's this new law. Will I continue to be harassed?
Sir, I have no knowledge of any of this, so this is the first I have heard it.
Well, I know that she was recording the message to give to you because you had asked her, please stop these people from bringing their dogs to the park at 8
I
a.m.
did not ask to have a video of anybody. I know they keep an eye out during the summer, especially because of camp.
Absolutely.
And
Camp is
that's-
understandable. I would not bring my dog,
And
any
because-
responsible dog
okay.
owner would not bring their dog around children. I
Well-
understand that.
Okay,
But to be harassed is unacceptable in this village. I've been
When
here
did this
25
happen?
years,
When did this happen?
maybe a month ago.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
I'll have to speak with her about it. I have no idea.
All
I've
right,
not
and
been.
she even held the phone up. She interviewed several people that were there saying, I have to do this for my
Okay,
job.
Well,
Unacceptable. I'm following the law,
okay.
you know, and to have it, I guess I would like to know how many complaints have there been? How many issues have there been about dogs roaming the park?
I can't give you data right now. It's.
Is there
something-
data? Is there collected
I'm-
data?
I don't know. I'll have to ask.
Well, if you
It's part of
don't
the
know, why are
process.
you proposing a new law?
We are proposing a change, a simple change,
Based on what?
based on a run-in someone had with dogs on the street that weren't on a leash, that ran up to their dog.
On a street,
Yes,
not in a park.
I already said it was on a street,
Not in a park.
right? But see,
But let's change the law to affect people that
well,
take their
the
dog to a
rules of the
park.
park, our dogs have to be on leashes. The signs are quite bold and right in every part of the park, so
But,
there are rules.
but the law
down there.
is or.
Well, I'll have to talk about that with council, you know, and how that works,
Yeah.
honestly, going forward, but,
One item too, now I know, I don't necessarily want to purport that this is data, but there was, in addition to that, there was also a petition that was signed by some
right.
residents.
Thank you, yes.
Making a request. So as far as it becoming an issue, I think there was sort of an initial inquiry, and then
Mm-hmm.
there was this correspondence, as well as correspondence indicating that the law, you know, should stay the same. So there's been a little bit of
Right,
both.
that's why we're
So
here.
that's
When
why-
was this?
So this.
2 months ago, a month
This
ago?
petition that I have in front of me, I don't know the receipt date.
I don't
It's not right on here.
So you had a petition of people signing petitions saying, please enforce a leash law, is that it?
I have a copy of it right here if you'd like to see it. So this is it, and this is a request for leash.
And how many people?
This has 12 individuals
12.
on it.
Okay, good. So I work in government communications. And when I work with elected officials, they say, oh my God, I'm getting hammered with this. We got to fix this. We got to fix this. And my question is, how many calls have you gotten? 4. Out of how many people in your district? 126,000 people? Come on, guys. I mean, I know the village is different, but at the same time, if we are going to abide by laws, why should we have police officers then question us about abiding by the laws? I mean, I'm abiding by the law, yet I'm being harassed. And I think that is a problem. I don't care what the law is, I will follow the law. That's my job, is to follow the law. That's what I've raised my kids to do, is follow the law.
Let me ask you this, if you don't mind. When you were harassed, why didn't you come and talk to the police chief about it? I'm just
That's a
asking
good,
you.
that's good.
Well, because we didn't know.
That's fair, that's fair.
I didn't know.
That's fair, but I assumed the board was after me.
Absolutely not. I can
Sir,
tell you for
honestly,
sure.
I don't know you.
I don't,
So-
I've never met you.
No, you've yelled at me, actually, in the park.
I have yelled at you in the
Yes, you have.
park.
Yep, you came to measure for the equipment space, and you said, your dog's supposed to be on the leash. And I said, my dog is following the law as I am.
All right, regardless, what
I d-
I asked, what
I
I just
don't,
asked,
whatever.
is when something happened to you, you should have come to the police chief and said that one of his subordinates had done this to you, because, sir, I had no idea. So I can't even put together a response for you, because this is the first
All
I'm
right.
hearing it.
You know,
I'm
you know,
not saying you're
I
not
believe, I
justified.
believe Jill is a very reputable person, and I believe that she would even attest to this, that she did this.
I'm unaware of it as well. She's absolutely correct. You should take me with that.
But I'm telling you that if you asked her, she would tell you, yes, I did that.
would be asking her.
Absolutely, and I consider her a friend, but it's just, I was following the law, and I'm still being harassed.
Well, we didn't know, is what I'm saying, so I can't respond to something that I just found out about 2 minutes ago. I'm sorry that that happened to you, but I had absolutely no idea.
All right. Well, I think the law should stay as is. I don't think there's been any injuries, any harm to to either owners' dogs or other owners' dogs. There has been no harm. Does anyone know of any incidents where a dog had to be taken to a veterinarian because of a fight? Has that been? And any concerns voiced like that?
No, but the whole purpose of this, it's our job as a trustee and the board, that when some of the constituents come to us and say, we have a problem, whether 12 people signed it or
Oh,
2.5.
absolutely. Yes.
We have to entertain it.
I agree. I
So-
agree.
Which is why we're here.
Which is why
Yes.
we're here, so.
But you guys don't know the law. You didn't know the law. That's a problem.
You know what? I would say, I would guess with our whole code, if you've looked at Code 360 for Altamont, Village of Altamont, there is no way on earth I would know every single piece of that code, and I would tell you that our building inspector, not to put him out there, but he wouldn't know that either, because there is so much. We don't memorize our code. We have an issue, we look it up. That is our job.
I agree with that.
Well, that's not
So
what you
then
just
why-
said to
So
me.
why am I being harassed?
Sir, we've already addressed that. This is news to us. I don't
I have
know what.
I have witnesses in the audience.
Well,
That's
and we're
fine.
not saying we don't believe you, we just
I-
didn't know. I
We
had
just
no
don't know.
idea, and if you had come and talked to our police chief, it could have been settled.
It really could have.
I don't think the police officer did anything wrong other than videotaping. That's it. You know, I don't even know if she understood the law. But when people talk, you should know the laws. When people are talking about laws, you should understand what they are. And not what they're supposed to be, or not what we think they are. So I'm just asking, please do your homework. Please understand what you're going to process and put into law.
I think, if I could just for a moment, I think the reason that this was in place was, this law has been in place since 1970. There were a couple of amendments in 1972, I believe it was. And this board, had looked into a dog park, but hadn't looked into making any changes until there was a recent inquiry and then the recent petition that I shared. So the purpose of tonight is to really hear what people's comments are. So I don't think the board has any knowledge as to what may have happened, may have happened when you were in the park, and certainly you're able to talk about that, and it's very good for this board to hear that, just to hear what's been going on. But I don't think that it's targeted one way or another. It's just a matter of the biggest change that I see between what's there and what's proposed, right? It's not necessarily being adopted, but proposed is, should there be a leash law? That's the biggest difference, right? Should dogs always be on a leash in the park, or should there be this opportunity to have them in the park with a responsible owner who's in control of the dog? The one thing that, and it's not up to me one way or another, it's up to the board. The one thing that I notice when I read that language in its current form is it's a little bit ambiguous in how do we define when a dog is in control of the owner? So that's just one consideration.
Right, and I think dog behavior would
Yeah.
answer that. And I can tell you that the dogs that I've been with at the park have never growled, have never bitten, have never even raised a hackle, and they just have fun, Dogs are supposed to not be on leash, and maybe the dog park is the way to go. But the bottom line is, the village, the trustees, the mayor, the police department must know the law before they start investigating what's going on. And that's my ballywick, is you guys didn't know the law.
Thank you.
May I have 30 more seconds?
Sure.
I believe Yayo was going to speak too.
What?
Some of you who've been here since the late 80s will remember a woman named Phyllis Schilling. She had a golden retriever. She walked all over the village with that dog by her side with no leash. That's what a trained dog looks like, under control. Can we all do it? Probably not.
Come on up.
I think you're shorter than the health thing.
Yeah,
So I'm
can you,
gonna
if you
do
turn the
this.
bottom part, it'll go down a little bit.
Can you hear
there.
me now? Is
He's
this
gonna do
good?
it, hold on a second.
Thank
There you go.
Thank you, David.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Jaya Connors. I'm the spouse of Joe Connors, who spoke earlier. I just have a couple of things. I felt like Matt had to go on the defensive he was earlier, so, for saying that he was being videotaped. So I feel bad for Matt, because you were complying with the law and doing what you could do in the park, which is have your dog under control. So I felt a little bit like you were being put on the defensive. So I didn't like like that, saying you were at fault for not going to the police. That's,
I did not say he was at fault.
Or-
I said that we could have helped, the situation could have been resolved if we knew. I did not say he was at fault at all.
Okay, so
He should
you're
not
right.
have been videotaped.
Right, but I still felt like he
Well, I apologize,
was
that was not my
defensive. Yeah.
intent.
The other thing I want to say is the petition, I briefly saw it, and I think that there were no allegations of the current law was being violated in any way. It was just a petition for a new expansion of the current law. But it wasn't saying that the current law was in any way not being complied with or that it was being violated. And I think the kinds of relief people are looking for can be enforced with the law that you currently have. It's just a matter of enforcement. It's not because we don't need to expand on the current law, because if you have a dog that's not under control, right, there's a recourse. The current law can respond to that. And I think the one issue that the mayor raised was about a dog on a sidewalk that, where the incident took place. That's different. I think if you want to maybe amend the law to kind of talk about on a sidewalk, public sidewalk, that makes sense. But the other thing, too, is if you're going to start enacting new legislation or new laws, village, town, city, whatever, there's got to be some data to explain to people why you need it. If you say, I don't know what the data is, I have no idea, I heard from somebody this happened, it loses teeth. I mean, there's no basis for it then. Then why don't you just enforce the law that you have now that seems to be working, but for the enforcement? Because it covers all the issues that I'm hearing that have been raised. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Your hat matches Joe's cats.
We coordinated before we came here. Hi, I'm Joe Bryson. Thank you for your service. Pleasure to be able to bring my kids here, too. So we moved to Altamont now, right at the start of the pandemic, had no idea about the code here. And I think you rightfully said if having been here and being the mayor, you can't even understand or know all the code. You can understand, I'm sure, but it is hard to understand. And I got walloped by the code enforcement right after I got here, even just trying to move into my house, okay? It wasn't a pleasant experience and a pleasant introduction to, hey, we have a code. There were existing issues apparently with my property where trees needed to be put, and there was in my camper, right, when those camper issues. So I guess I just wanted to come up and applaud and encourage alignment of law. I think that is really important. It seems, I did that for a long time. I don't need to go into my career, but there's a real waste of limited resources when we duplicate laws. So aligning this code with the Guilderland Code I think is great. It begs the question why we even need a village code. Why not just follow the Guilderland Code, right? Period. And which is what I've seen, what I've experienced in trying to understand this code, and when I had interactions, the limited interactions what I've had with the government officials, it was very confusing, and it's not aligned. The definitions in the code are not aligned with definitions for the DMV or New York State. But here we are having a conversation about dogs and barking, and we're using resources, and we're using valuable time, and it's about dogs barking, and we're aligning the law, right? Good. I think what I keep hearing here, it's for me a crux of an issue that I've experienced is, why am I a priority for limited resources? Why is code enforcement focused on me? Right now, I know and I just bring it to this. Why are we spending all this time focused on dogs? Is that the priority for the village? Right? I understand I get it. Someone raised it, you brought it to you. I think that's very responsive government. I'm very pleased at that. I think it's wonderful. It's just unfortunate that this is what it is, right? That this is what it is that's then saying, okay, let's align our code. I've reached out to you before and offered to volunteer to serve on one of your committees, and I reconfirm my interest here to do so. I've just become a licensed nurse. That's what we came here to do. My wife and I, we moved our family here to establish a home in a wonderful little village where people are the people that come up to you and talk to you and wave to you. There's that culture where people are going to come and talk to you, or someone's going to come up to you and say, hey man, you bought this house here, that's great. No, we couldn't interview you before you came here, but now you're here and there's this code, and let's talk to you and educate you about this code and like what you can do and what you can't do. And because look, this is the first time we've owned a home. We're learning as we go, and there's a really complicated code that I got to try and fit in. And what I've come to find out, unfortunately, in this community is not that people come up to you and say, hey, I got an issue. Can we talk? What they do is they complain, okay? And then the very limited resources of the community are used on me as a priority, right? For complaints, to deal with it. I've got to move things, I've got to rebuild things, I've got to use my resources in a pressured way, and I'm getting threatened with pretty exorbitant, crazy fines, right? In the process. This is my experience with your government in this little village so far. And now I'm worried about my dogs, which are part of my family, right? I really appreciated your explanation. I'm not on Facebook.
I'm not either.
Really am glad, yeah, I'm not on
happy not to
Facebook.
be.
But I'm really, really, really appreciative of your explanation, and that this is all about aligning with a regulation that exists at a higher level. Absolutely, 100%. What I just don't get is, again, how is this the will of the village in the use of our very limited resources in terms of prioritization? So with that, I will say, I did get the survey. I really liked the survey. I think that's a great initiative to try and identify priorities. It didn't necessarily open up enough for me for the priorities. You're not asking for that. This is about public comment on this issue. The point is, don't understand really how this is a priority for our very limited resources that we have here. If we are aligning our code, and that's the right thing to do, why even have a village code? Why not just follow the Guilderland code, except for very specific stuff? And then if we are going to enforce, and if we are going to change, let's really take a look at it, and let's really take stock of, are these the priorities, and are these the places where we're aligned as we should be, or that we should have exceptions? I don't know why we need to have a completely different definition for recreational vehicle as the DMV, which the code refers to. So it's got a circular problem right there in it. Again, I love codes. Spent a lifetime before this reviewing codes and standards. Happy to help. Really don't think we should be spending a whole lot more time on dogs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening. Bryce Therian, resident since 2020. Thank you for having everybody here today. I'm here to talk against the regulation, the dog regulation. Just speaking actually to the last speaker, why we maybe shouldn't want to align ourselves with Guilderland. We're different than Guilderland. There's a reason I don't live over on Western Avenue. That's much more suburban, that's much more tight residential. We're out in Altamont. Altamont is, for all intents and purposes, kind of a rural area. We're close to Albany, but we are kind of a rural area, and we have that feel. It's a big part of the reason that my family moved here. So the other reason that I'm speaking against it is we just moved here from Schenectady. Schenectady has also a fairly strict dog code. the dog code is written in a somewhat subjective way as far as enforcement. It's written in a way that is a little bit arbitrary as to when it can be enforced. Reading the proposed code here, I really have a fear it's also going to be enforced in kind of an arbitrary way, where sometimes they're going to roll up, they're going to hit you with a ticket. Sometimes they're going to roll up, they're not going to hit you with a ticket. It's going to be based on how vigorously the person is complaining about it. Are they saying this dog has been barking for 15 minutes? Maybe they have been barking for 15 minutes. Maybe they have been barking for 7. Who knows? It really created a lot of confusion, and I lived in Schenectady in the Stockade, which was also kind of a tight-knit community. And we also had a park right by where we lived, where a lot of people like to take their dogs, especially if there were no kids in the park, there were no people riding on bikes in the park, and like on snowy days, letting our dogs run around, not on a leash, and those dogs were under control. Animal control sometimes would show up and they would say, that's totally fine. Other times they would show up and they would say, no, we're going to hit you with a ticket. And because of the way that that code was written, and it was such a subjective language behind the code, that it created a lot of confusion about when we were allowed to take our dogs out and just enjoy being dog owners with other dog owners. And we have a really tight-knit dog ownership community here. Like, my wife and I have made friends just taking our dog over to a park when there's nobody else in the park. And sometimes the police come and they break up what feels like a small town experience, which again is what I thought we all moved here for. People who have been here for a long time probably know it even better than me, because this is the first time I've really had that small town experience. And I think that actually the last owner spoke to it really eloquently, that it's really nice. And it's really a bonding experience. If we're all standing around and our dogs are sitting there on a leash, even though all the dogs are, it's much different than if our dogs are able to just kind of enjoy being dogs, especially if there's nobody else there. So I'm really worried about the vague, subjective nature of the current proposal. That's really the reason I'm speaking out against it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hello.
Kate Provencher, resident of Altamont. I, like others, want to thank you for your work and for making space for democracy.
We try.
I know you do. I really appreciate, Mayor Janine, your explanation at the beginning. I think that that was really important. And I'm going to say that when I saw that there was a public hearing about this and reviewed the law, I did not pay attention to anything about parks. I do want to confirm what I thought you heard you saying, which is that there's not anything in the law about fines.
We didn't add anything about fines.
You didn't add anything about
There's always
fines.
been a fine structure that's been there since probably the 70s, but it's the
Okay.
same thing that's been there.
Okay.
Nothing has changed.
So, and also, there was something else that I was thinking about that I was questioning as I heard other speakers. I'm not going to comment on the part about parks because I missed that in the law, and but I do want to talk about having dogs on a leash, because my experience as a pedestrian in Altamont, when there have been people with their dogs who are not on a leash that run up to me, sometimes when I'm taking care of somebody else's dog, is that it's a frightening experience, that other people's idea of their dog being friendly and being in control doesn't take into account my need. And so for me, I welcome that piece. And I say that knowing I'm in an audience of people who are going to question that. But I walk regularly through the village. I see people walking their dogs on leashes. And I appreciate that because that safeguards my safety also. So I appreciate that. I also understand that this is how democracy works, that you've made an opportunity based on the request of some village residents to have a public hearing about that, and I thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Not seeing any movement. I'm just checking because it's hard to see everybody in the back. Okay, if there's not any other comment at this time, I would ask trustees if you want to make a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
John is in favor of closing, and second?
Michelle.
Michelle,
Oh, me.
in favor.
Sorry.
Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine?
In favor. I think, this is just my opinion, and trustee Ganance and trustee Scally, you guys can, weigh in here as you want to. And I appreciate the folks who said, we're providing this opportunity, because that's what it is. We did the same thing with chickens. If we were to dismiss 2 people or 3 people, that came to us the first time about chickens, you wouldn't have that, wouldn't have come to be, and that seemed to be the third time around, people came out and wanted that, but it started with only 2 or 3 people starting saying.
Tabled it the first time.
Yeah, and they were persistent, and we said, sure, you just got to show us the support, which is the same thing we said here. We wanted to have a discussion. That's why we're here. And the biggest part was just, the proposal was that, okay, so just changing that one word from or to and in the leash part. I think that's what we were looking at. Again, as far as the minutes and the how, I was looking at it quickly, and I know 2 words were added to that, but the process has always been 10 minutes or 30 minutes. The reason we aligned it with Guilderland, there was a reason. It's not just that they are our town, but that is our official animal control officer. So it doesn't make sense to have, that would be the standard they use. And like I said earlier, I think I said this, in my tenure here, and I think, and I look around this room, I've probably lived here longer than almost all of you. So I'm pretty old, actually. Been here a while. It's only, and in my tenure on this board, it's only happened one time that any of that was applied. Our police officers are not looking to go out for enforcement. I'm sorry there was an incident that we don't know about. I truly, if you know me, I would tell you if I knew. I'm very straightforward. Don't know anything about that, but we will get to the bottom of that as well. Because no, shouldn't have happened. But I think in my mind, because, we just wanted to have a discussion where this landed and, and everybody's thoughts, I want to look at the data. We have not had time to look at data and gather it together. What is there? What kind of dog issues have we had? I want to talk to our department heads, again, at the parks. Maybe have them give us a statement of what their thoughts are. Our park manager, who manages the park and our kids and our programs and our rentals down there. That is a place we rent out every single week from June to the fall. I mean, it's a very busy place. I think, talk to our chief, obviously, get some information from him. Talk to DPW as well about the conditions and things like that as far as the park part goes. And then bring that information back in July. I mean, this whole thing, anytime you change a law, anytime you change a code, it has to go through a secret process as well, which is where you look at and, just check off lists and things. There's regulations to changing anything. And we haven't even done that yet. We didn't look at that stuff because we wanted to hear what people had to say first. This is how we do that. So I think, unless you guys have some other thoughts, I would rather gather this information and bring it back in July to our July meeting and have further discussion. If at that time we look at those 3 possible changes and maybe you guys look at them and say, based on what we find out, we want to amend some of that. We can always have another hearing on the amendments to that proposal. It's all up in the air. So this was just to address both the letters and petitions we have to hear people out, and I think
it's very important that we heard people out, because I learned a lot.
right,
of things
because
that
it
I
kind
did
of gives
not
us a
know
direction
today.
now. I mean, that gives us a direction. We have to know that ahead of time. So that would be my plan if you guys are in favor of that.
Can I ask a question? Can you share the data once you collect it?
Well, we would be sharing it at the meeting,
Oh,
absolutely,
yes,
and it will be
absolutely.
public. It'll be public for the meeting. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's sort of the process. We're here as public comment to hear what people have to say. This is not necessarily going to be law. We have to discuss
Right,
it. We
yeah.
can
This,
make
the
amendments.
changes addressed
Yes.
the concerns. That's what they were there for. So, and we hear people out tonight, and we have to talk in-house to all these departments that you can't pull all that together in just weeks. It doesn't work that way, where everyone works outside of here as well. So, anyway, so, and, you know, as far as why are we spending so much time on dogs, which I think your points were really good. I look at it kind of that way too sometimes. I think it's important, but it is important to certain people, especially because they walk this village with their dogs. And I think if it's important to a handful of people, it's important for all of us to look at it and say, okay, you know what, maybe somebody else's behavior, my behavior, just say me, is affecting somebody else in a different way. We have to look at the big picture. We have to look at us as a community. I am saddened to see, you know, how online and social media has divided even this town that I have grown up in. I don't like it, and it's just not the way we've always practiced anything around here. So, you know, hang in there with us. I mean, obviously, this is a process, and I think if that's okay with you two, we'll move on to, you know,
I think this was a really good benchmark, because
It
in
wa- yeah.
order to hear what everybody has to say, lets us know how we follow up, where we follow up, what information we need,
Yep.
and to apply it to what people
Yeah,
have
and
said.
any changes that we might want to look at, maybe some of the
Mhm.
changes should be taken out and some, I don't know, put back in, I don't know. So we'll be continued, and we thank you for giving us your input.
Thank you.
So I'm going to move on to the agenda item number three, thank you, I might have skipped it. Consider approving amendment to Aflac to allow Aflac Choice Fixed Indemnity Hospital Confinement Indemnity Insurance, option one, participation is voluntary and premiums are paid by the employees. We all got an update on this from Patty with our packets. Could I have a motion to approve that?
moved.
Michelle, and second,
I'll second it.
John. And roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Item number 4, consider authorizing Mayor Denine to sign and execute Verizon pole attachment agreement for municipal street lighting. This, I'll just give you a little explanation of what this is. We did an LED street lighting project. We probably finished ours about 3 years ago, but the poles are jointly owned by National Grid and Verizon, and at the time, we did the same agreement with National Grid. It wasn't done with Verizon. We had a group that facilitated this for us, and so we're just getting the paperwork done. That's what it is. We already have our lights, it's wonderful. So that's what it is. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
John,
I'll second.
Michelle is second, and roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Item 5 is consider approval of recommendation of Altamont Guilderland Referral Committee regarding an application from Stacy Zakowski, 2 Marion Court, minor subdivision, tax map number 37.15-2-9. Just to give everybody a little background on this as well, in 2005, I believe, there was a law that was passed for the town of Guilderland, which is a Altamont Referral Committee, a law that lets Altamont have a say in any different types of development or changes or zoning changes for parcels 1,200 feet from our utilities. So this was a minor subdivision application to the town. They referred it to our committee here, which is made up of both a ZBA chair and our, building administrator, our DPW folks, Trustee Scally, myself, I'm missing one person, I was just, Kate Preventer, sorry, Kate, I left you out, I'm trying to think of who's on the committee now. So community members as well. And we looked at it and we made recommendations for this subdivision, that's what you have in front of you. And Guilderland's planning process will take our determinations into the account when they go through this with Guilderland. So that's what that is. We were recommending, if they follow the things we determined, that they could, for approval. So, do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Michelle is first. Second would
I'll
be
second it.
John. And roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Item 6, consider approval to hire the following individuals for Bozenkill Park Summer Recreation Program. Thaddeus Rockhill, Guilderland Camp Counselor Lifeguard at $17.30 an hour. Ryan Stouffer, Altamont Camp Counselor Lifeguard at $18.30 per hour. Natalie Way, Guilderland Lifeguard at $18.30 per hour. Justin Kapuzinski, thank you, Altamont Lifeguard at $18.30 per hour. Addison Dover, Guilderland Lifeguard at $16.80 per hour. Tyler Pentak, Altamont Lifeguard at $16.80 per hour. Avery McPherson, Guilderland Lifeguard at $16.30 per hour. And Logan Dover, Guilderland Lifeguard at $16.30 per hour per recommendation of Jamie Rubin, Bozenkill Park Director. Could I have a motion to accept all that?
So moved.
John, and second,
Michelle.
Michelle.
Jeez, I keep doing that.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine.
In favor. And I got to thank these folks because I think,
Yeah.
if not all of them, they've all are returning. I feel like there's maybe one new person.
One new person.
One, and we have had returning help for so many years, and we really count on them, and they're absolutely outstanding for our camp program and for our park program. Item 7 is consider salary increase of 25 cents per hour for Samantha Staubach for the position of lifeguard management effective May 31st, 2024. This position is a requirement by New York State Department of Health for the Bozeman Kill Park Summer Recreation Program, and whoever is in this position gets that increase to their salary. So could I have a motion?
So moved.
Michelle is first, and second,
I'll second it.
John. And roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine.
In favor. Item 8 is consider approval to hire Vicky Bastian, Duanesburg water aerobics instructor for Bozeman Hill Park at a flat rate of $450 from June 18th through August 8th per recommendation of Jamie Rubin, Bozeman Hill Park Director. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
John, and second,
I'll do it.
Michelle. And roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine.
In favor. Item 9 is consider request of Phil Carducci to hold Bozeman Hill 4-mile run and a 2-mile walk on June 22nd, Helderberg 5K on July 20th, and the 26th annual Altamont 5K run walk on August 24th, 2024. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Michelle, and second,
I'll second it.
John. And roll call, please.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine.
In favor. Item 10 is consider approval of board minutes for May 7th, 2024. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
John, second.
I
Michelle?
don't know what my problem is.
Okay, roll call.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor.
Mayor Denine.
In favor. And before we get to item number 11, I just want to mention quick, I forgot to say this at the beginning. I know the board's aware of it, and there was a public announcement a couple of weeks ago. We're very excited because there are community grants that are, we apply for each year. We apply for a lot of these type of grants, and we need an upgrade for our wastewater treatment plant that we've needed for several years now and been trying to get funding for it and not been successful on the state end. But I had submitted it a third time this year, hoping, fingers crossed, with Congressman Tonko's federal money grant program, community projects. And we were very lucky to be selected this year for, it doesn't mean it's funded, it means it now goes through the federal appropriations, and we hope, and they'll defend it. And he picked several water projects, one of them is ours. And we were also really featured last week. Trustee Farrakhan got to go to a media event and represent Altamont with the drawings and things like that. So we're really excited about it. We thank him for selecting us. It took some time, and it's a $1.2 million project. So if we're successful, we feel like this would really keep it from the residents having to pay the money for the upgrades that we absolutely need. So it's exciting. And we have a couple other grants we're waiting to hear back on. So hopefully, maybe by July, we'll know. Anyway.
That would be great.
Yeah.
All right. So 11 is consider, do you have anything before I get to 11?
No.
Okay, just double checking. Okay.
Who said that?
I'm sorry, because at the beginning, I've never been to one of these town hall meetings, so I didn't get a chance to say anything, but I wanted to bring something new.
We usually do it at the beginning, but come on up, come on up. That's okay. No problem.
So thank you for the opportunity. My name is Nicoletta Giovanni. I'm at 103 Sand Street, okay?
Okay.
My question is, wondering when our road is going to get paved and proper sewage, or proper drainage, because unfortunately, when it rains really bad, when it snows, when it melts, it turns into a sheet of ice, and it is not properly taken care of. And so there have been potential accidents. And so it is something that really should be addressed. More so, no offense, I'm a dog owner. More so than the dog situation. I mean, this is actually could cause harm to vehicles. We have potholes that are constantly cold patched, hot patched. It's just not doing what it needs to do.
Your timing could not be more perfect, and
Perfect.
you don't even know it.
Love that answer.
So
And please don't shut off our street of water because I brought this up. Like, that's all I was worried about when you
They're not
said that.
shutting off, it's a low flow
I
thing
know.
for people, but that's only so they can make the fixes that will help you in the end. Honestly, today we spent the day going around town about the drainage. The Sand Street project is a priority.
Okay, thank you.
And what happens is this, it won't be paved till next year, but you're on the schedule for next year. We have to do the drainage first,
Okay,
fix that issue, let it settle for a year, and then we pave it next year.
okay.
That is, right now, Larry Adams and I, we met today, Tim McIntyre as well. They were on that corner, actually, because we have to find out which is the best way to address the drainage. They're ready to go, but we will be addressing the drainage this summer into the fall. I don't know when it's going to happen exactly. And then the paving would be next summer, next season.
Okay.
So, it's
I
just
had
the
to
way
bring
it
it up.
happens.
I've been trying to get to these meetings, but with work and
No,
everything,
I
it's hard.
appreciate you
so-
saying something, because I don't think people, my priority has always been infrastructure. We have been paving 3 streets a summer, trying to get around.
I know, and-
Sand Street's been on the list.
We thought
but
we were
again,
forgotten, so, yeah.
No, it was just, but you gotta do the drainage before you do the paving, or it just ruins the whole project.
Okay.
So that was today's project, was talking about, that was one of the projects we talked about today.
Yay.
So your timing was perfect.
Well, thank you, and I'm sorry, and I.
Don't be
used
sorry.
my 5 minutes of-
No, it's
you.
nice to hear from people that, will appreciate that. No, that's great. All right, so, consider a motion to adjourn is number 11th. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
John, and second,
I will.
Michelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No.
No.
Thank you again for coming out this evening. Have a great night, and our meeting in July is not the first Tuesday. I believe it's the third Tuesday, right?
July 16th.
The 16th, there you go, it changes, yes.
How old is that
Oh.
adorable baby? Already.